one of the greatest unforced presidential campaign errors in history. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, if things weren't bad enough for Comrade Kamala over the last week, and as we've talked about it now quite a bit on this show, it's now turning out she lied about McDonald's. Who the hell lies about McDonald's? So as part of this myth of her being this product of the working class, the middle class, she claims repeatedly, in fact, she's made it now central to her biography, that she worked at McDonald's while she was in college. Well, apparently now McDonald's says there is no employment record whatsoever of her ever spending a single day, flipping a single burger, making a single milkshake at McDonald's. Now, trust me when I tell you this. This is going to grow and grow and grow. Like Tiananmen Tim Waltz. She's a pathological, incorrigible liar. As I said, who the hell lies about McDonald's? Why do you feel the need to lie about McDonald's? But that was just the tip of the iceberg. She got no post-convention bounce whatsoever. None. Zero. Nada. Zilch. The campaign now clearly senses that it's lost momentum. It hit its peak at the convention and now is going down and down and down. And this one, I think, is a huge mistake. As I said, an unforced error. One of the greatest in American presidential campaign history. So, as you know, this was about a week ago. As you know, on the anniversary of the withdrawal from Afghanistan and 13 of our service members being killed by terrorists, Islamic terrorists, at the airport in Kabul, Donald Trump went to Arlington National Cemetery. And there he laid a wreath, he was at a wreath-laying ceremony, in which he went there to pay his respects and commemorate the 13 dead service members. And I really want to stress this, who died because of the incompetence of the Biden-Harris regime. They bungled that withdrawal. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is universally acknowledged, and correctly so. Who the hell pulls out the soldiers first and leaves the civilians behind? Who the hell leaves behind billions and billions of dollars of our most advanced weaponry and material? It was a disaster from beginning to end. And one of the results, there were many disastrous results, but one of the biggest results was 13 U.S. service members unnecessarily dying, squandered, frittered away, their lives senselessly, needlessly lost because of the sheer colossal incompetence of Biden-Harris. Now, let me ask all of you, what did Trump do that was so wrong? What was his great crime? What was his great sin? He was asked by the Gold Star families to go to Arlington National Cemetery. They invited him. He didn't invite himself. They asked him. He said, I would love to do it. He shows up. The Gold Star family members now then say, to honor our dead children, please, we would like to all of us take a photograph together. We want a photograph of you laying a wreath. We want a photograph of all of us together. Why? So that we could remember the 13 fallen. Because Joe Biden has never honored them. Kamala Harris has never honored them. In fact, as all Gold Star families have said, all of them, Joe Biden never once reached out to them. Kamala Harris never once reached out to them. And what is remarkable, my friends, okay, and please, I know it's the Tuesday after Labor Day, and you're coming back from a nice, restful vacation. By the way, I went up all the way to Canada to see my dad. As you know, he's not doing very well. Spent my birthday up there on Sunday. Had a wonderful birthday with family. So I don't want to get people's blood pressure up. But you got to hear this. The media, the lying corporate Democratic media, the Democratic Party, the Harris campaign are now waging a political jihad against not only Trump, but against the Gold Star families. According now to Kamala Harris and to the media, Trump had no business turning that ceremony into a quote-unquote political stunt, and that he is politicizing the deaths of those 13 service members. And you have the entire media now going after Trump, saying, how dare you? How dare you go to that ceremony? How dare you get pictures taken with them? How dare you have photos? How dare you do it? This was a campaign event. You're using these Gold Star family members to advance your campaign. You should be ashamed of yourself. They're trying to turn Trump into a villain. They're trying to turn the Gold Star families into villains. Because Kamala Harris did this on Saturday. On Saturday, well, most of you were, relaxing, maybe having a barbecue, whatever, celebrating the long weekend. This is what Kamala Harris sent out officially. This is from her. And I want to read it. I've never read something from her word for word, but I want to read it because I'm telling you now, this has really blown up in their face. This is beyond a disgusting scandal. This is going to cost her the White House. I think she's already finished, but this is going to really cost her the White House. Quote, as vice president, I have had the privilege of visiting Arlington National Cemetery several times. It is a solemn place, a place where we come together to honor American heroes who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service of this nation. It is not a place for politics, Kamala wrote on X. And yet, as was reported this week, Donald Trump's team chose to film a video there, resulting in an altercation with cemetery staff. Let me be clear. The former president disrespected sacred ground, all for the sake of a political stunt. This is nothing new from Donald Trump. This is a man who has called our fallen service members, quote-unquote, suckers and losers, and disparaged Medal of Honor recipients. And I don't want to go on. She keeps insulting Trump. It's one insult after another. If there is one thing on which we as Americans can all agree, it is that our veterans, military families, and service members should be honored, never disparaged, and treated with nothing less than our highest respect and gratitude. And here it comes. And it is my belief that someone who cannot meet this simple sacred duty should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America. I will always honor the service and sacrifice of all of America's fallen heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our beloved nation and our cherished freedoms. I mourn them and salute them, and I will never politicize them. Now, she's done two things, and I'm telling you, the backlash is already building, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. Not only did she falsely defame and libel Trump, he didn't politicize anything. Anything. The Gold Star families invited him. As I said, they also invited Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Joe Biden was at the beach. He couldn't be bothered to go. Kamala Harris was at her mansion in Washington, D.C., 10 minutes away. She couldn't get her ass out of her mansion take a 10-minute drive and show up and lay a few wreaths. But here's the bigger point. She's also now trashing the Gold Star families. Because what she's telling them, and this is exactly how they've interpreted, and they're right, every single one of them, that they have politicized sacred ground. That they never should have asked Trump to show up for the photos. That they never should have asked Trump to show up at the commemorative anniversary event. That he never should have been there. And that they are disrespecting their own children who died and all of the other fallen heroes and soldiers buried at Arlington National Cemetery. The Gold Star families, to say livid is an understatement. They are beyond livid. Beyond livid. Saying, you have forgotten our sons and daughters. You have tried to put them down a memory hole as if they never existed. You have refused to celebrate or commemorate their sacrifice in any way. You haven't even called us. You haven't even sent us a letter. You haven't even acknowledged us. And now you're disparaging us for the crime of holding a ceremony and an event to honor their sacrifice? Kamala Harris is a disgusting pig. She's a pig. 620 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, unbelievably, incredibly, you would think that with the disaster and debacle that Afghanistan was, clearly one of the most humiliating moments in American history, and just the disaster that unfolded, that Biden, Harris, the Dems, and the media would run as far away from it as possible. Avoid it like the plague. No. This is why, as I said in my opening monologue, I'm telling you, this is one of the greatest unforced errors in American presidential campaign history. I can't believe Kamala and her people are this stupid and incompetent. They're not going to let this thing go. And now they've really raised it to the highest level possible. When she came out, I read part of the statement to you from X, where she's accusing Trump of participating in a political stunt, politicizing this wreath-laying ceremony for the 13 dead service members who were killed by terrorists at Kabul airport. And then she's going after the Gold Star families, saying that by inviting Trump, they had no business inviting Trump, so she's going to tell them who they can invite and who they can invite, and that they have violated hallowed sacred ground by inviting Trump. So she's now attacking the Gold Star families. Now, let me tell you right now, the Gold Star families were furious, absolutely furious. And they made the same points over all of them, all 13 of them. And I want you to think about this, okay? Just stand back objectively. Their sons and daughters, their children, their flesh and blood, died for nothing. Died for nothing. It was completely and utterly unnecessary. It was senseless. It was senseless. It was purely because of the sheer incompetence and blundering of the Biden-Harris regime. That's why those 13 service members are dead. And you don't even meet with them once? You don't even take their call? As the family member said, they want nothing to do with us. They avoid us like the plague. We ask for answers to many questions because we don't believe we've been told the truth, and that they're right. They've been lied to. They've been repeatedly lied to about how and why their 13 children died. And they deserve answers. No one has reached out to them. In fact, they said, we invited Joe Biden. It was the 3rd year anniversary. It happened in 2021. This was the 3rd year anniversary of their deaths at Kabul. The media has forgotten them. The administration pretends like they never existed. We wanted to commemorate and honor their lives and their sacrifice, their patriotism. We asked the president to show up, Joe Biden. He was at the beach in Rehoboth partying. Kamala Harris was 4 miles away. She was 10 minutes away in her mansion in Washington, D.C. She refused to show up. She won't even take our phone calls. But you know who did show up? President Donald J. Trump. And because he showed up, and let's be honest, he reminded the world, A, what an absolute humiliating disaster Afghanistan was, and B, he showed that the Gold Star families are with Trump, not with Biden and not with Harris. Now they're in full-blown panic. They're in panic. And so they started to concoct lies. They started to concoct lie after lie. One of the lies was that somebody on Trump's team had an altercation with a member of the Arlington National Cemetery, a member of the military. And they claimed that somehow there was a fight that broke out. But apparently there are no witnesses to any of this. Then they claimed that Trump had no right being at the cemetery. Then the Gold Star family member said, of course he had the right to be there. We invited him. Then they claimed, but you didn't have a right to film it and photograph it. Well, number one, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have been filmed and photographed dozens of times at Arlington National Cemetery. So I don't know what the problem is. But more than that, they've never used it as a campaign video. The family brought their photographer. The family brought their videographer. Why? Because they wanted the moment commemorated. That's what you do. You know, at my birthday party on Sunday, by the way, some party. It was basically my wife, my 2 wonderful kids, my sister-in-law, and my niece, okay? 6 of us. But even the 6 of us, we took pictures. We took some videos. You marked the occasion. Hello. And suddenly now, Trump is politicizing the death of 13 service members? Trump should be ashamed of himself. The Gold Star family members should be ashamed that they invited Trump and dare to take a picture with him as he laid the wreath at a tombstone, at a grave site of one of the fallen who died in Afghanistan. So now they're openly attacking and vilifying the Gold Star families? My friends, when the American people find out about this, as this scandal now grows and grows, the backlash is going to be devastating. 632 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, just a very quick reminder. Today is primary day in Massachusetts. Polls will be open till 8 p.m. I'm definitely going to be voting. I'm voting after the show is going to be over. So there's a lot of primary votes out there to be cast. The big one, there's a lot of races, local races, state rep, state senate, local city council. Obviously, the big one is for the Republican primary for U.S. Senate. The winner will challenge Elizabeth Warren. John Deaton, Bob Antonellis, Ian Kane, those 3 are the ones vying for the nomination. Look, people are saying, Jeff, please tell me who I should vote for. The lawyers have gotten involved, and they're saying I can't technically pick a candidate or tell you to vote for a candidate. So here's all I can just tell you. Ian Kane, by the way, I like all 3 of them. I met all 3 of them. I met all three of them just before we had our wonderful debate here at WRKO, and I like all three of them as people. Whoever wins, I will support against Elizabeth Warren because I think she's an absolute disaster, a train wreck, the worst, one of the worst things that ever happened to Massachusetts. So I will support any one of those three who emerges as the winner today. I think all three of them are infinitely better than Elizabeth Warren. John Deaton is anti-Trump. Ian Cain is anti-Trump. Just so that you know, they're open about it. Bob Antonellis is the only one of the major three candidates who is a MAGA conservative and a Trump supporter. Now, I don't know what that matters to you or not, but I'm just giving you the factual lay of the land. So vote accordingly. By the way, we have a podcast up. You can listen to it where they lay out all of their positions on every single issue, including abortion, gun rights, immigration, sanctuary state, sanctuary city, benefits to illegals. It is all there from all three of the candidates in a debate that I moderated just a couple of weeks ago. So please go out and vote and let your voice be heard. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, very, very quickly. I don't know if she's stupid or if she's desperate or both. Her internal poll numbers show she's in trouble. That's why they're spending so much time in Michigan and in Pennsylvania. They were there yesterday with Joe Biden. And now she's trying to turn this visit to Arlington National Cemetery against Trump. So far, it's not working for her. It's really working against her. But now she has really ignited the fury of the Gold Star families. Listen now to Gold Star father Steve Nakui. He went on social media after she came out with her post saying it was a cheap publicity stunt for Trump to be there, that it was politicizing the deaths of these 13 service members who were killed at Abbey Gate at Kabul International Airport as part of Biden and Harris's disastrous withdrawal. And for her then to criticize the Gold Star families for daring to invite Trump to pay respects to their dead children, they had enough. They said, now this is the breaking point. Roll cut 14A. This is Gold Star father Steve Nakui, who lost his son at Abbey Gate. Roll cut 14A. Mike.
Vice President Harris, my name is Steve Nakui. I'm the father of Lance Corporal Kareem M. Nakui, and your administration killed my son. Deliberately in exchange for political theatrics so you could have a final day of the evacuation coincide with September 11th. Ignoring the advice of your generals, the Doha Agreement, and countless other veterans and members of Congress. Denying the safety of the Afghans and the servicemen and women. Your choice to play politics in 2021 killed 170 Afghans, 13 U.S. service members, and wounded 45 of our service members, as well as countless Afghans.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Honestly, it's unbelievable. It's just, it's absolutely unbelievable. Now, Senator Tom Cotton was on Meet the Mess on Sunday with Kristen Welker, who, as you know, is a water carrier for Biden and Harris. She's an absolute hack and propagandist. And Tom Cotton made the obvious point. You and the media are trying to turn this now into a massive scandal against Trump and the Gold Star families. You're attacking them. It's not enough they lost their loved ones. It's not enough they lost their sons and daughters. But now you got to spit in their faces as well. And he said Joe Biden was invited. Kamala Harris was invited. They were told to meet, asked them to meet and attend. They refused to come. Now listen to Welker, because she's now caught in a huge lie. The media is now trying to lie on behalf of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Roll cut 14, Mike.
and honored the sacrifice of those young men and women. But she hasn't. She never has spoken to them or taken a meeting with them.
Well, they did meet with them during the dignified transfer. They were with them at the dignified transfer.
Her and Joe Biden's incompetence, those 13 Americans were killed in Afghanistan.
Now, she lied. She lied. And NBC had to issue a correction because the Gold Star families were so livid that they were threatening to sue NBC and they would have won. Kamala Harris was not at the dignified transfer. The only person that showed up at the bodies at Dover Air Base with the flags draped over the cotton, that was Joey. And remember, Joey was looking at his watch. The whole time he's looking at his watch. So Biden was at the dignified transfer, looking at his watch. And by the way, the Gold Star families all said they were disgusted by him. Because all he kept talking about was his son, Bo. And how he knows how they feel because Bo died of cancer. And they're like, Bo didn't die in Iraq, man. Bo wasn't killed on the field of battle. Bo died in a comfortable hospital with his whole family by his side. Everybody saying their final words to him. He died of cancer. Why are you trying to equivocate that with the loss of our children, which was at your hands? And B, why does this always have to be about you? This is about them, not about you and Bo. Okay, but let that go. Let that go. Kamala Harris was not at the dignified transfer. Kristen Welker lied. And NBC News had to come out and say, no, she was inaccurate. No, it was a bald-faced lie. Listen now to Steve Nakui. It's bad enough that you're attacking us. It's bad enough that you're dishonoring our 13 service members. It's bad enough that you're trying to turn a beautiful wreath-laying ceremony now into some kind of a scandal. But now you got to lie on behalf of Kamala Harris after she has disrespected and insulted us every step of the way? Roll cut 14B, Mike.
You were not at Dover for the dignified transfer. At no time have you reached out to me to offer your condolences, to offer thank you for Kareem's sacrifice and service. Not once have you honored him by saying his name, so I said it for you. You have disparaged all 13 who have lost their lives as well as their families, exhibiting your lack of gratitude by your silence. I agree with you on one thing. That a person like you should never and will never stand behind the seal of presidency. You are a DEI vice president. And contrary to our kids, the worst that America has to offer. I will pray for you that God has mercy on your soul.
I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. But if it's not true, then what's the point of me being behind this microphone? Really, if I'm not here to speak the truth, there's no point in me being behind this microphone. Okay? This woman is a B. Okay? She's a bitch. I'm going to say it. She's a bitch. She's a disgusting, cold-hearted, stone-cold bitch. That's what she is. For her to disrespect these Gold Star families like this? How dare you? How dare you? After you sent those 13 young service members, look at their ages. 23, 22, 26 years old. You sent them to their deaths at Abbey Gate. And you still brag about that withdrawal? You still call it a success? You won't even meet with their parents? And when Trump does the right thing, you condemn him and condemn the parents? Blank you. Who the hell, seriously, who the hell trashes the Gold Star families of the 13 dead Marines? Who does that? That's your campaign strategy? As I said, look, it's either incredibly desperate or incredibly stupid or a little bit of both. 649 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, so let me ask all of you. Was it wrong for President Trump to participate in a wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery to honor and commemorate the sacrifice, the deaths of the 13 heroes, the 13 service members who were killed at the International Kabul Airport at Abbey Gate while Biden ordered the complete withdrawal out of Afghanistan? The media, Kamala Harris in particular, are now saying Trump has politicized it, that he has exploited the deaths of those and the sacrifices of those who died and turned it into a cheap publicity and political stunt. In fact, she's making a major issue of it now. And that the family members should be ashamed of themselves for inviting Trump and inviting photographers and cameras, as she put it, on sacred, hallowed ground. 617-266-6868. CJ in Boston. You're going to kick us off, CJ. Thanks for holding and welcome.
And thank you for taking the call, Jeff.
My pleasure.
This so-called incident created by the Democrats is just another preemptive strike by the Democrats to distract from the fact that Trump went to Arlington National Cemetery to honor those 13 killed at the Kabul airport. Joe Biden and Harris should be charged with accessories before and after the fact of the murder of these servicemen. And the Gold Star families should not let this go. They must keep going with this. There's been a lot said about Trump recently, you know, when he made the statement about Medal of Honor winners and other medal winners, basically stating that, you know, you appreciate it more when you're alive. They made a big deal out of that. You know, Jeff, there has not been a president since I've been around, and that's been many, many decades, that have done more for veterans than Donald Trump. And I'm going to give you an example. And I want every veteran and every American to listen to this. When Donald Trump took office in 2015, the VA approval rating was 52%. 4 years later, when Donald Trump left office, the approval rating at Veterans Administration hospitals was 91%. 91%. Almost doubled in the 4 years Donald Trump was in office. But this is going to continue with these people. It is to deflect and to criticize people who stand up for this country. But what's most disgusting to me, and please allow me to mention this, at the DNC, we had a highly respected black woman who's worth $2.8 billion, Oprah Winfrey, stand up and defend Kamala Harris. I'd like to ask Oprah Winfrey, you have no problem with endorsing a woman whose family were the biggest slave owners and slave traders in Jamaica? Of course not, because the only color Oprah Winfrey and others see is green. That Greg Gulfield that works for Fox 25, I just recently saw a video where it's 2000 that Donald Trump was invited to The View. You know, that round table of losing women. And Whoopi Goldberg is giving him a big kiss on the cheek. All of a sudden, these people do a 360-degree turn, and Trump is no good. But it is the media in this country. It's been the pounding, constant. Trump is no good. Trump is a racist. His followers are racist. If that's the case, you are going to have 85 million racists in the United States of America voting for Donald Trump on November 5th. Jeff, I'm on my way to the polls right now. As an independent voter all my life, I am going to vote for every Republican on the Massachusetts ballot today. Everyone. And just for your listeners' information who may be interested in this, the rumor has it now that Ed Flynn, Boston City Councilor Ed Flynn, may run against Michelle Wu. So for all of you people who are going to the polls today, remember those people who want you to drive the electric cars, take your stoves away from you, tell you to get shots and tell you how to run your life. You remember that when you go to the polls today. And if you don't like what you're hearing, you know what? Vote Republican, because that's the true party of the United States of America.
Amen.
And Trump.
Amen. CJ, dead on. Look, I'm a registered Republican only because I want to make sure I vote in the Republican primary. I know independents can as well. But if people ask me, Jeff, why are you a registered Republican? That's the only reason. So I can make sure I'm voting against the rhinos. And I'm going to be voting right after the show today. CJ, thank you very, very much for that call. So go out and vote, please. Dave in Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Hey, birthday boy. Happy birthday. I left 3 messages on your Facebook page.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Well, I'm the big 5'5" now, Dave. 55 years old, this is it. You don't get more middle-aged than 55, Dave.
Well, Dave, Jeff Watson, I'm only 11 days behind you in 1969. I was born on 9/11, unfortunately. But, Jeff, get this, and I'm praying for your father, of course, your dad. You great dad up in Montreal.
Thank you, Dave.
Jeff, listen, I have a nephew, and I love him to death. He's a good kid. But, Jeff, he has nothing but venomous, satanic hatred for Trump. I don't know anybody that hates President Trump more than my nephew here in Pittsburgh. But, Jeff, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not even about Kamala or Joey or the Democrats. Jeff, it was in 2015 when the great Donald Trump, a great real estate broker in New York, not a perfect person, but, we're fallible, we're human, came down the escalator, and then all the pundits were saying, oh, he's not even going to win the primary. And when Trump won the primary, that was his first sin. But the great sin is when he beat Hillary rotten Clinton, Jeff. That was the most unpardonable sin to the Democratic Party. Okay, Jeff, that's why they hate his guts. It's not about even his policies, Jeff. They hate the guy because before Trump even was thinking of running for president, he gave to Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition. He gave to Hillary. He gave to Bill Clinton's campaign back in the 90s when Bubba ran for president. But the media is trying to cover that up too, Jeff. But I'm going to uncover it. Cover it.
Well, Dave, look, you're dead on. You're absolutely correct. Look, that was his greatest sin, was that he defeated the wildebeest. And they never, ever forgave him for that. But Dave, you're a Marine. You're a vet. You honorably served our country. I've got to ask you, my friend, the media is now claiming that these Gold Star families had no right to invite Donald Trump. And that when he showed up, this was according now to Kamala Harris, it was a political publicity stunt, that Trump should be ashamed of himself, and that the Gold Star families, the parents who lost 13 heroes on their children on that fateful day, that they should be ashamed of themselves because they're violating sacred ground by bringing a camera, by bringing a photographer, by inviting Donald Trump himself. And that using their children, their dead children, they say this is what she's saying, as political props for Donald Trump. So now she's out and out vilifying the Gold Star families. They lost their flesh and blood. They lost their kids senselessly, needlessly. And now she's attacking the parents because they dare to honor them and commemorate them? What say you, Dave?
I'm going to tell you, as a Marine who served by the grace of God, and if it wasn't the God, the Father, and the Holy Trinity, Jeff, without Yahweh, Yahshua, and the Holy Spirit, and I'm a Christian first, Jeff. I'm a Jewish Christian, but I'll tell you, Jeff, Kamala Harris is Russia, Jeff. The Communist Party. And by the way, you got to go see Reagan. I saw the movie on Saturday with my beautiful wife, and it's a great movie, Jeff.
Dave, as always, thank you for your service. Thank you for your call. Russ, speaking of another veteran, Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Russ.
First of all, President Trump loves and respects veterans. There is no question about that. Ignorant Democrats believe this propaganda. Harris could care less about veterans, dead or alive. If Harris is elected, when the history is written about the fall of the United States, it started with the death of President Kennedy and Dr. King. The final nail in the coffin will be hammered in by the three stooges, Obama, Biden, and Harris. Obama played the part of Mo. Obama, the great organizer. Biden, the leech, and Harris gained by using her private parts. That's the only way she would have gotten as far as she got, by using her private parts. What a combination, a massive destruction. The truth must be told. Harris has been endorsed by radicals like Socialist International. Again, Socialist International she's been endorsed by, okay? Now, she is getting funding from control freaks. Hello, feminist. Harris needs to stand by a man for support or she'll fall. Harris is no role model for the feminist movement in this country. Vets who vote for Democrats on a national level are becoming unconsciously turncoats. And I'm sorry to say that, but I feel it's true. We vets took an oath to defend this country against domestic enemies. The leaders of the Democratic Party are the enemy within, and there's no question about it. If you don't think they're the enemy, then you are sticking your head in the sand, without question. When World War III starts, the government will be forced to bring back the draft. If you vote for Harris and your loved ones come home in a body bag, it's too late by then, and you should feel guilty for being so politically stupid in voting for Harris. Harris is the queen of the rope-a-dope. She'll cause the cost of living to be unbearable. You will have to sacrifice necessities of life. Food will become unavailable. The depression will be unbearable. We will be beginning to the leaders. We will no longer be the leaders of the free world. And Jeff, if that happens, it'll be time to play taps for the United States of America. And I'm going to ask you to make this request. If President Biden is reelected, I want you to play God Bless America on the 6th of November, followed with the national anthem. And if she's elected, I want you to play taps in memory of the United States of America as it once was.
Russ, let me ask you this, as someone who served multiple tours in Vietnam. I can't think of any greater tragedy for a family than to have their child die, go to a war and die. But if it's an honorable war, and if they died really truly defending and protecting their country, there's a pride, there's a patriotism, there's a gratitude. But what's really angered these Gold Star family members is that the 13, of course they're heroes, that goes without saying. They're incredible people. But it was also unnecessary. It was so self-inflicted. It's because they so bungled the withdrawal that they'd left those 13 service members at the mercy of these Islamic terrorists. And in fact, it could have all been prevented. They literally died for nothing. For nothing. Only because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's sheer stupidity and incompetence and really negligence, criminal negligence. They don't ever get a phone call. They never meet them once. They have so many answers. One of the parents says he looked at his boy's body when the body came back, and he said it wasn't shrapnel. He saw bullet holes in his son. He goes, I know what I saw. I want answers to questions. It haunts me. It eats away at me. It's my boy. He's supposed to bury me. I'm not supposed to bury him. And they have been so insulted and so disrespected. And then to commemorate, because now Biden and Harris have been trying to put these poor 13 heroes and memory hold them, act like they never died, like it never happened. And they don't want their memories to fade and to die, and they're right. And so on the 3rd year anniversary of their deaths, their senseless, needless deaths, they invite all of them. They invite Biden to show up. He doesn't come. He's at the beach in Rehoboth. He's too busy partying. Kamala Harris was literally 10 minutes away at her mansion in Washington. She couldn't be bothered. Trump flew all the way to Washington, joined them at Arlington National Cemetery, met every single one of them, hugged them, kissed them on the cheek, spoke about their children, their dead fallen heroes, wanted to lay a wreath. They asked him to be there. And yet now Kamala Harris is attacking Trump for honoring their memory and attacking the Gold Star family members for daring to have a ceremony, for daring to invite Trump, and for daring to take photographs and videos of that ceremony commemorating and honoring their dead kids. Now, you tell me, honestly, Russ, have you ever heard of anything more disgusting, vile, and insulting in your life?
As being a war veteran myself, I constantly think about this. Honestly, I think about the Russian soldiers that are dying uselessly for scumbag politicians, the poor Ukrainians dying for scumbag politicians. And always remember this. For the Gold Star families, the war never ends for them until the day that they die. They suffer from that loss of a family member. And also, let's not forget the veterans that come home crippled and suffer for the rest of their lives the sacrifice they've made. And Jeff, I'll say this, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, okay? Every time I go to a funeral and I hear these words, the flag is handed to a family member, and they say, on behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation. I'm sorry, as a Vietnam veteran, the grateful nation, I don't see it. Yeah, there are some grateful people. But as far as a grateful nation is concerned, not. And just think about this, okay? If the bleeping government should match $5 to every dollar that's donated for Tunnel to Towers, okay? If they really give a damn, they would support Tunnel to Towers. There is really no reason why our government, with all the friggin' money they give away to foreign countries, useless people that are not producers, that do nothing but leech off the rest of us, okay? They should be putting money in for the veterans. There should be no homeless veterans across this country, okay, Jeff? And I'm telling you, every time I think about this, it pisses me off to no end, okay? I'm tired of listening to scumbag politicians, lying bastards and bitches. That's all that they are.
Russ, thank you very, very much for that call. Passions are running very high today. I mean, I dropped the B-bomb, and others have, and you don't treat fallen heroes like this. You just don't. And you don't treat their parents like this, these Gold Star families. And that's what Kamala Harris has now done. Now, I'm telling you, this is a massive scandal, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. In fact, listen now to J.D. Vance. Okay, J.D. Vance, he is on fire over this. And he says now he is not going to let this thing go all the way until November. Listen now to J.D. Vance at a press conference about Kamala Harris saying that Trump visiting Arlington National Cemetery was nothing more than a cheap political stunt for publicity and to help his campaign. Roll cut 15C, Mike.
The media has turned this into a national news story. You know what I think our veterans care a lot more about? That Kamala Harris's VP nominee lied about his military service. I think that our veterans care a lot more about that. And the other thing that our veterans care a lot more about is that 3 years ago, 13 brave, innocent Americans died. And they died because Kamala Harris refused to do her job, and there hasn't been a single investigation or a single firing. Look, sometimes mistakes happen. That's just the nature of government, the nature of military service. But to have those 13 Americans lose their lives and not fire a single person is disgraceful. Kamala Harris is disgraceful. We're going to talk about a story out of those 13 brave, innocent Americans who lost their lives. It's that Kamala Harris is so asleep at the wheel that she won't even do an investigation into what happened, and she wants to yell at Donald Trump because he showed up. She can go to hell.
Yeah, say it, man. Yeah, she can go to hell. Yeah, by the way, completely right on every point. To this day, she and Biden refuse to launch an investigation into what really happened at Abbey Gate. I'll tell you why. because their fingerprints are all over it. Because Biden and Harris have blood on their hands. American blood. The blood of those 13 dead service members. That's why they won't launch an investigation. That's why they're too ashamed to meet with the Gold Star family members. Because they don't want to be asked questions, because they can't answer their questions. They can't look at them in the eyes. They can't look at them in the face. Why? Because they got their children needlessly killed. That's why. And now all of a sudden, Donald Trump is the bad guy? Because he's the only one who showed up to honor their sacrifice and meet with the Gold Star family members. And by the way, he told them they're going to get fired. When I win in November, all of the architects, especially those in the military, behind that disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan, they're all gone, fired. And we're going to have an investigation, a real independent investigation. And we're going to finally find out the whole story about what happened. That's why the media is freaking out. That's why Biden is freaking out. That's why Harris is freaking out. Lynette in Medford. Thanks for holding, Lynette, and welcome.
Hi, it's actually Linda.
Linda, okay. I have Lynette up on the board. My apologies.
That's okay. The thing that really is getting me with all of this stuff and all of these individuals calling are correct, but in every field, doctors are licensed. If they screw up, they can lose it. Attorneys can be disbarred. But these journalists spreading propaganda, lying, this whole thing about Trump and being at Arlington Cemetery is so
Lynette, you are making a spectacular point. I'm up against a hard break, and you hang on. I want to continue this, take more of your conversations. Why does Kristen Welker still have a job at NBC? She openly was caught lying on behalf of Kamala Harris. That's malpractice. 7:19, in fact, now 7:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, it's now a huge scandal, amazingly, because the Comrade Kamala's campaign, the Kamala Harris campaign, has now decided to turn it into a scandal. Now, one of the reasons why they're pushing this hard is to try to deflect from her disastrous interview on This Is CNN. The poll numbers are now coming out. She is now starting to take a dip. People did not like what they saw on that CNN interview. She looked weak. She looked insecure. She looked utterly vacuous, content-free, as many said. Someone who looked diminished, who clearly, like a little girl at the grown-ups table, was how many people described it. So the CNN interview turned out to be a bomb. Now they think by trying to attack Trump over visiting Arlington National Cemetery that this is going to help demonize Trump and get her people galvanized again. The problem now is she's also attacked the Gold Star families. And the Gold Star families are pushing back. Listen now to Gold Star father Jim McCallum. Roll cut 14C, Mike.
Vice President Harris, my name is Jim McCallum. I am the Gold Star father of United States Marine Corps Lance Corporal Riley McCallum, killed in Afghanistan, August 26, 2021. Your recent remarks related to Trump's visit to Arlington are filled with nothing but lies and deceit. How do you sleep at night knowing it was you, this administration, you and Biden, you being the last one in the room, are responsible for the death of our 13 kids? You have failed for 3 years and 8 months to acknowledge our kids, to acknowledge me. You don't know me. You've never spoken to me. You've never reached out to me. You have failed in your duties as vice president. I'm going to go back to Linda, I promise, in a second, but I just want to set up this cut
to go to Linda and to go to all of you. This is very powerful. Look, I'm just telling you right now, you're not going to win. I don't care what kind of a political candidate you are. You're not going to win. Not when they're wrapping Afghanistan around your neck. Not when they're showing and exposing how incompetent, inept, and frankly stupid, feckless she is. And then for her to compound that insult on top of it all by now attacking the Gold Star families after refusing to meet with them, to speak with them, to have anything to do with them. This is going to be a public relations nightmare. Nightmare. And if I'm Trump, she's now given them a huge opening. Huge opening. And I pounce all over it now. If I'm Trump, cut ad after ad. I don't stop talking now about this scandal. They've given him a gift on a silver platter. Take it. Take it. Okay, let's go right back to Linda in Medford. They still have Lynette, by the way, up on the board, but let that go. Linda, you were making a brilliant point. If a doctor makes a serious mistake, license is revoked. If an attorney engages in malpractice, license is revoked. Why is it when a journalist, say Kristen Welker, and I played the cut, when she said, no, what are you talking about? Kamala Harris already met with the families. That's not true. It was at the dignified transfer. And of course, all the Gold Star family said she wasn't there. That's a lie. And NBC had to issue a retraction saying, no, that's not true. So here's Kristen Welker lying, caught red-handed on behalf of Kamala Harris. And your point is, why hasn't she lost her job? Correct, Linda?
Yes, but not only her, some of these other people of their assessment of what she has said, which is totally untrue. When she didn't ban fracking, they just lie, and there's no accountability. But more important to me is there's no exposure by their own. Where are the legitimate journalists stepping forward saying we have to clean up our act here? Nothing from the legitimate journalists. And the other thing is, what I don't understand is, where's our military? I hear all that the military are saying, and I support the military. I support Tunnel to Towers. But the military is supposed to protect us from enemies within and without. Why aren't they marching on the White House? Who's going to come up against them? The Secret Service?
Linda, I played the cut of Jim McCallum, who lost his boy. And he goes on about how she never met with them. She never cared for him. She never cared to hear his name. She was directly responsible for the death of not just his son, but 13 service members. And Linda, now she's attacking the parents and vilifying them. How do you think the American people are going to respond to this?
I think they're going to be angry, but you know what? Who cares if they're angry? It doesn't get you anywhere. Why? I would love to see the parents standing outside the White House with signs. At least they'd be fighting back.
Linda, thank you very much for that call. And look, she's dead on. Corrupt journalists never get fired. Corrupt generals like Milley, who helped orchestrate this whole disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, has never been held accountable. Kamala has never been held accountable. Those 13 dead service members deserve better. 7:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, just another quick heads up. Today is primary day all across the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I will be voting right after the show. I'm urging all of you to vote as well. State reps, state senate, local council. Obviously, the big race, and all eyes are going to be on it tonight, is going to be the Republican primary for U.S. Senate. The winner will move on to challenge Elizabeth Warren. The three candidates that are on the ballot, there are other candidates that people are going to be writing in, but the three candidates that are officially on the ballot are Bob Antonellis, John Deaton, and Ian Kane. I will endorse whoever is the eventual winner, not because I agree with, especially regarding Ian Kane and John Deaton. I disagree with them, obviously, on their opposition to Trump. They both also support abortion to some degree, abortion rights. So there are many issues I profoundly disagree with both men on. They're just infinitely better than Elizabeth Warren. Like, really, I'm telling you, all of those three men are much better than Elizabeth Warren. Antonellis is the only one of the major three that is a MAGA Republican. He is pro-life and he is pro-Trump, and he will vote for Trump in November. Ian Kane and John Deaton have both publicly said, and they did say it to me again during the debate that I moderated, that neither of them will vote for Trump in November. They say they will not vote for Harris. At the time it was Biden, but then now it's Harris. They will not be voting for, Harris, but they will also not vote for Trump. So vote according to your values, vote according to your conscience, but just vote. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, this is from Craig on Messenger, and I think he really hit the nail on the head. Jeff, the fact that Trump showed up at Arlington just made Harris Democrats look bad. And that is their red line. And this is why it has put them into meltdown mode. I agree. They were invited. They refused to attend. They had no idea that Trump was going to show up, and that Trump did show up, and that he stood him up, and that the Gold Star families would be so aggressive in getting the images out to the media, on social media, on the internet, of Trump laying a wreath at that ceremony. And you know what they say? A picture is worth 1,000 words. Not only were Harris and Biden responsible for the deaths of these 13 service members, but they couldn't even bother to show their face. There was Trump with the grieving Gold Star families. And that tells you everything you need to know. So now they're trying to manufacture a fake scandal, fake outrage, some kind of fake allegations that Trump took pictures for his campaign, which is a violation of the federal regulations at the Arlington National Cemetery. Then the media tried to concoct there was an altercation that took place between a Trump campaign staffer and somebody who works at the Arlington National Cemetery. He's a thug. His people were beating up service members who work at the Arlington National Cemetery. Yet there's no evidence that any altercation took place. None. Everybody who was there said, we didn't see a thing. We have no idea what these people are talking about. So they're trying to create a scandal where literally none exists. The only scandal is the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. It is the death of these 13 service members, completely and utterly unnecessary. It was criminal negligence. And the fact that both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris wouldn't even lift a finger to honor or commemorate their deaths or to even meet with the families. Disgraceful, disgusting on every count. Agree, disagree. Gigs in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Gigs, and welcome.
Yeah, hi, Jeff.
Hi,
happy
Gigs.
birthday.
Thank you, Gigs.
My birthday just went by a couple of days ago myself.
Happy birthday to you, Giggs. What's on your mind, my friend?
Yeah, I got 2 points. Connie Harris, I don't know if you remember, back when BLM were trying to burn down the cities, she made a comment on the news that those riots were going to, those protests, quote, protests would continue for social justice. I called them riots myself, but anyway, that shows her priorities. She's more concerned about these communist-backed groups that were trying to burn the cities down than her concern for our servicemen that are putting their lives on just putting their lives out there for freedom, to keep this country free and great. The way America. People that have, risked their lives for America. So it shows what her priorities are. And, Jeff, if I could, I just wanted to make another comment about that guy, Waltz. He was the governor of Minnesota, and he was one of these tyrants during the COVID debacle that were threatening to fire first responders like police, fire, EMTs. And then about a week ago, he was in Boston trying to court the votes of the firefighters union. And, the media had a big propaganda, build up for him that, what a great guy. He's supporting the firefighters union, when in fact he was cutting their throats trying to fire them during, the COVID debacle.
Well, no, Giggs, you're dead on. I mean, I don't want to get too lost in the weeds here with Tiananmen Tim, but, who fired all the firefighters in Minnesota? It was Tim Waltz. You didn't take the job, you're gone, you're out. And he goes on about, mind your own damn business. Well, why don't you mind your own damn business? You forced everybody to either take the job or they would lose their jobs and careers. And by the way, now we're living with the fallout from that. There are a lot of side effects, not for everybody, but for a minority of people now, they've had very serious adverse side effects. Massive heart problems, heart attacks, kidney issues now, paralysis, blood clots. So it's really devastated a lot of people's lives and health. That's all at the feet of Tim Waltz, Tampon Tim. Now, to the bigger issue, and look, Giggs, you're right. These men and women make the choice to put their lives on the line for you, for me, for our freedom, and for this country. And who the hell does Kamala Harris, who does Comrade Kamala pay her respects to? Who does she bow to and bend the knee to? Those rioters, criminals, and thugs who burned and looted and plundered, whether it be in Minneapolis or in Chicago or Kenosha or in downtown Boston or in Atlanta or Portland or Seattle. She met with Black Lives Matter. She congratulated Black Lives Matter. In fact, she said, you're going to have a seat at the table. She, in fact, encouraged people to bail them out after they razed Minneapolis to the ground. And how many people murdered? How many police officers maimed and injured and crippled? And she said, bail them out. And some of the people that she bailed out were murderers and rapists. And they went on to commit more murder and more rapes. You see, with criminals and Marxist thugs, she meets. She will meet with them. She will pay her respects. But if you died under her watch, defending our country due to a decision that she and Biden made, one of the stupidest, most reckless, irresponsible, incompetent decisions in the history of the United States. Who the hell pulls out the soldiers before the civilians? I've never heard of this. Who the hell leaves behind billions and billions and billions of our most sophisticated advanced technology and weaponry to the Taliban, and eventually it went into the hands of the Chinese and the Russians. And they left those 13 service members sitting ducks. Sitting ducks. They need not have died. They repeatedly asked, they saw the ISIS terrorist bomber. Permission to take out. Permission denied. That's why the Gold Star families are livid and angry. That's why they want answers. And that's why Harris, the media, and the Dems are trying to take these 13 incredible heroes and put them right down a memory hole because she's unfit to be president. 750 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, before I go to Mags in New Hampshire, you want some more sound and fury from the Gold Star parents? They're not letting go. They are not letting go on this one, and I don't blame them. Now Kamala Harris on the warpath, picking a fight with Trump and the Gold Star families over their decision to honor their deaths and sacrifices on the 3rd year anniversary of Abbey Gate, when 13 service members were brutally murdered by ISIS terrorists in Kabul during Biden and Harris's absolutely destructive and disastrous withdrawal. Trump, as you know, showed up. Biden and Harris refused to show up. He laid a wreath at the ceremony. Now Harris is attacking Trump, saying it was a cheap political stunt, that he is exploiting the deaths of those 13 service members, and that the Gold Star families should be ashamed of themselves. The Gold Star families are now lashing out in fire and fury. Listen now to Mark Schmitz. He is the father of Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz, who was killed in Afghanistan on that fateful day. Roll cut 15, Mike.
This is Mark Schmitz, Gold Star father of Marine Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. Here we are on a beautiful holiday weekend day. I got to stop what I'm doing, spending time with what's left of my family, to address a heinous, vile, and disgusting post put out by Kamala Harris, trying to incite those that don't follow the truth that President Trump was in Arlington as a political stunt. Shows you how much you know about the 13 families. We invited him to be there.
So he didn't show up. That's the first lie. That he just sort of crashed the commemoration event, the ceremony, because, you know, he wanted to take pictures for his campaign. And they're like, okay, lie number 1, we invited him. He came at our request. Lie number 2, we asked Joe Biden to show up. He was too busy vacationing. Second week of his 20-day vacation at Rehoboth Beach. And Kamala, we also invited her. She was 10 minutes away, 4 miles away at her mansion in Washington, D.C. They didn't care to come because our dead kids mean nothing to them. Listen now to Mark Schmitz. Roll cut 15A, Mike.
Why did we want Trump there? It wasn't to help his political campaign. We wanted a leader. That explains why you and Joe didn't get a call. Imagine for a second that your kid is killed, and there's a president of the United States willing to take you under his wing and listen to you. That's what we found in President Trump. Certainly not you, and certainly not Joe Biden.
Let me play one more. And I got to tell you, this one's heart-wrenching. You want to know what this election is about? I want you to listen now to Mark Schmitz. He had to lose his son unnecessarily. Unnecessarily. Biden wanted to pull out to meet the anniversary deadline, self-imposed in his own head, of September 11th. His generals told him, you pull the soldiers out first, it's going to be a bloodbath. He didn't care. You're going to leave civilians behind. Many are going to die. He didn't care. It's going to put all of our service members and troops at risk. They're going to be sitting ducks. He didn't care. We're going to surrender Bagram Air Base. He didn't care. We're going to surrender billions and billions of our finest weapons and most advanced technology to our mortal enemies. He didn't care. Listen now to Mark Schmitz. And after everything you put us through, after everything you've done to our families, we will be destroyed for the rest of our lives. You put out that post, Kamala Harris, on Saturday. You vilify us. You attack us. You defame us. Simply because we wanted to honor and commemorate the unnecessary deaths of our dead children? How dare you? Roll cut 15B, Mike.
You have 13 families who have been waiting over 3 years to so much as get a phone call, to so much as hear our kids' names said aloud in the halls of Congress, at a State of the Union, hell, anything. The irony behind your post that you give a rat's ass about our military or our veterans, Jared's brothers and sisters in arms, the rest of the 12, their brothers and sisters in arms, is an outright lie. We're living proof of that. You're despicable. You have zero business running this country. And I pray to God, Americans, wake the hell up and get your ass out of office. You have spit in our face for the last time.
Now, I'm telling you, and I don't blame him at all for swearing. And I don't want to hear any complaints from people. Oh, how dare this guy swear? Oh, how dare he use foul language? Don't even, listen, don't send me the text. Don't send me the email. I don't want to hear it. Do you understand? I don't want to hear it. He lost his boy. He's never going to see his boy again. And if he died fighting the Taliban in a war that we were winning, he would accept it because that's the price you pay for being a soldier. But he died because of Biden's disastrous debacle and withdrawal. Biden sacrificed his son. His son died needlessly and unnecessarily. What Biden did and Harris, those were war crimes. Not just against the people of Afghanistan, but against the soldiers of the United States and the 13 fallen. He has every right to be ticked off, to be upset, to be livid, to be outraged. And if he wants to swear, his son died for him to have that right to swear. So please spare me. I don't want to hear the emails and the text messages, okay? Seriously. The way she sold out those 13 is exactly how she's going to sell you, me, and everyone else out. And that cold callousness of hers, how she cackles and laughs and won't ever say the names of these 13 service members and ignores them and pretends like they never existed. And then, instead of being ashamed of what she did, you're trying to politicize their ceremony? Because you didn't have the guts, you didn't have the face to show up when they invited you? Because when they would ask you the most basic question, why did my boy die? You have no answer for them. That's why she didn't show up. And so, because Trump went there and showed, unlike you and unlike Biden, he gives a damn about our vets, about our fallen heroes, about our military, and about our country. Now, you turn this on Trump. You try to make him ashamed. You try to make these parents ashamed. For what? To have their dead children honored and commemorated and respected? You're beneath disgusting. Honestly, you're beneath contempt. She is not fit to be president of the United States. She's not fit to be vice president. Hell, she wasn't fit to be district attorney in San Francisco, okay? But this, honestly, he's right. You're just spitting in our faces. This is just puh. And if she's willing to do that to our men and women in uniform, what the hell do you think she's going to do to us? This issue alone, forget everything else. This issue alone highlights everything that's wrong with Comrade Kamala. Agree, disagree, Mags in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mags, and welcome.
Oh, my God, Jeff, you're killing me this morning. God bless you, Sandy, Mike, all of you guys for everything you do. And I want to just say real quickly, CJ, Dave, Russ, thank you for your service and all of the veterans out there. We appreciate you, even though Kamala, Kamala, she doesn't appreciate you, but we do, and we love you, and we appreciate the freedom that we have. And hopefully going to show it on November 5th when we vote Trump in. Russ, Trump is going to be our next president. He is. I feel it in my bones, in my heart, everything, because these people that are in right now, Linda was right. The military should be going and taking them out. They should be going to Gitmo. They have committed treason against us time and time and time again, and yet they're still being allowed to. This is where I have serious issues, Jeff. I don't understand. Can you explain that to me, how they're getting away with this over and over again, and how the military is not stepped in and taking care of this for us? Because they're supposed to protect us and our country.
Well, Mags, look, let me give you a very quick story, and it'll answer your question, and trust me, it'll answer all of your questions. I was invited, this was maybe 7-8 years ago. It was 8 years ago. Obama was still in power. It was 2016. And I was invited to give a talk at Hanscom Air Base. So I went to Hanscom, and was a real eye-opener for me. I assumed, because vets overwhelmingly vote Republican, especially the rank and file. So I went to Hanscom Air Base, and I was going to give a talk, and I sit down with someone. I had no idea it was a 4-star general. I had no idea. And this guy was the biggest pro-Obama hack I have ever heard in my life. In fact, at one point, I even said to him, I go, buddy, you're in the wrong branch of the service. He was Air Force. You should be working in the communication shop of the White House. He got all upset and offended. I go, everything that's coming out of your mouth is straight from the editorial pages of the New York Times. And as I rebutted every argument that he made, he was for open borders. He was for Obamacare. Every decision Obama made, the Iran deal, it didn't matter what. He justified and justified and justified. And what became obviously clear to me is that the entire upper brass of the military were purged. And they were replaced with Obama loyalists. And now I believe from everything my friends in the military tell me, it's gotten even worse. So the reason why no one ever spoke out against Milley, no one ever spoke about that Biden-Harris withdrawal and the crimes that they committed is because they're all full of like that general. They're all a bunch of hacks. They're not generals. They're political apparatchiks. They're there to get a check, to get their pension, and to make sure that they're there to support Democratic administrations and whatever policies, no matter how destructive, no matter how failed, no matter how lethal or deadly, they don't care. Their loyalty, this is what is shocking to me. Their loyalty is to the party above their own men and women. I remember, I can tell you, history book after history book. Whatever you want to think about Douglas MacArthur, he loved his men. Patton, he loved his men. Eisenhower loved his men. Marshall loved his men. Whatever their flaws, man, they fought for their men. They resigned over their men. They lost their careers because of their men. Their men came first. They were everything to them. Obviously, their country as well. These guys, they don't care. And by the way, I'm not trying to disrespect generals in the military. I'm not, because I've met a few and they're excellent. But the generals of today are not the generals of 60, 70, 80 years ago. Patton was on the front lines with his men. MacArthur was on the front lines. Most of the great generals of, say World War II, they were on the front lines with their men. Bullets were whizzing past their head. Bombs were falling around them. In other words, they were willing to die with their men. They're in some, the Situation Room, or they're in CENTCOM in Florida, in an air-conditioned office, making decisions that affect troops at thousands of miles away. So they're politicians. They're just politicians who happen to climb up through the ranks of the military. That's why they're not speaking out. There should have been mass resignations after Afghanistan. Heads should have been rolling. Milley should have lost his job on the spot. No. This reminds them of the utter failure and disaster that was Afghanistan. It was a fiasco. It was a debacle. I believe it led to the war in Ukraine. I believe it emboldened Iran. I believe it emboldened China to go after Taiwan. I believe it will go down as one of the greatest military strategic failures in the history of the United States. And those 13 service members were sitting ducks. We let them twist in the wind. And Trump showing up at that ceremony and honoring their sacrifice, with Biden vacationing and Kamala Harris partying at a mansion in Washington, D.C. That's all you need to know. Don't even talk about borders, crime, inflation, the economy, foreign policy, censorship, the First Amendment. Just, he showed up, they're partying. They're responsible for these 13 dead, but they're blaming the family for holding a ceremony to commemorate and honor and respect their sacrifice. You can't make this up. So, to me, I'm asking every Democrat out there, you're going to vote for her? Really, you're going to vote for her? She's spitting in the faces of those 13 dead heroes. She's now spitting in the faces of their parents. She couldn't even leave them alone for a Labor Day weekend. That's why the poor guy comes out and says, I don't have much of a family left. My son is dead. And now I got to come out and respond to your lies because you went up on X and somehow claimed that, that we wanted to turn this into a political event when we didn't. There was a publicity stunt when it wasn't. And now you're bashing us, attacking us. Like what? We can't, on the 3rd anniversary of my son's death, I can't go to Arlington Cemetery and honor him? Is that what you're telling me now? So you kill him, then you disrespect him, and then you attack me for respecting him? F off. He's right. F off. There's no other answer. F off. And he's saying, and you liberals are going to vote for her? You're crazy. You're crazy. Mags, final word to you.
Jeff, I want to say God bless Trump for going. I want to say God bless America and all the people of our country, because guess what? we have a fight on our hands, and I hope everybody is prepared and ready. Because God bless America and these evil people that are trying to take us down, Jeff. And God bless you. God bless Andy and Mike. Veterans, we love you. Make America great again, Trump.
Amen. Mags, I'm telling you, mark my words. This is the greatest unforced error in American presidential campaign history. Mark my words. If Trump's people are listening, don't let this scandal go now. They've made it into a scandal. The Democrats did. Now it's boomeranging against them. Those 13 Gold Star family members, you get them in front of every camera now. Put them on NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN. Just put them out there. And you have them blast away at Kamala Harris. And you have them remind the American public of what Kamala did in Afghanistan and to those 13 service members and how she continues to treat them to this day. They're going to get KO'd. They're going to get knocked out. They're going to get destroyed by this. This is a public relations nightmare. I just can't believe she's this stupid. If you have half a brain, look, if I'm advising the Democrats, just forget Afghanistan, pretend like it never happened, okay? Let them have their wreath ceremony. Let them have their pictures. Just change the topic. Okay? He's a dictator. He's a convicted felon. Attack Trump. Let this go. Let this go. Nope. She has to go for it. So I'm telling you, either she's desperate, they need some kind of a scandal, and they're looking for one, or they're really that stupid. Or a bit of both. But whatever it is, her numbers now are going to start to crater. Watch. You don't pick on Gold Star families. Especially when they're 1,000% correct. Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Just let me say welcome to the 55 Club. I know you all responded to my happy birthday yesterday, but I wanted to tell you in person.
Well, Mark, are you 55 as well?
I turned 55 in March, yep.
Woo, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, tell me, Mark, before we continue with serious business, do you feel middle-aged? I mean, how do you feel? Hold on, we're up against another hard break. They're killing me with these breaks. Mark, can you please hang on? We're going to come back. I am part of the 55 Club now. Officially on Sunday, I turned 55. I'm middle-aged. 8:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I'm going to go right back to Mark in Medford, I promise. But first, the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Who do you think is responsible for politicizing the anniversary of the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Okay, this was a couple of weeks ago. As you know, Trump was invited by the families. He attended. He was at a wreath-laying ceremony. Kamala Harris now says Trump and the families have turned it into a political stunt. Trump is saying, hey, I was invited, I showed up, I paid my respects. The only one that's politicizing anything is her. So, who do you think is responsible for politicizing the anniversary of our withdrawal, our disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan? A, Comrade Kamala. A, Kamala Harris. B, Donald J. Trump. You know where I stand. A, all the way. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER, WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhn as in national ER. You can also vote via X. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, Kuhn as in national ER. Mark, I'm going to come right back to you, my friend, fellow member of the 55 Club. Both of us now in middle age, but happily in middle age. Mark, I've got to ask you, buddy, what do you make of this? Kamala is turning this into a scandal. Is it going to blow up in her face, Mark?
Well, Jeff, I believe it already has. The ball was rolling, and it's just going to turn into an avalanche. But to answer your poll question, of course it's Kamala Harris. But let me ask you this, Jeff. Like you would always say, let's throw this log on the fire for a minute, okay? What if Trump said no when he got invited, and his excuse would be, well, I don't want to make it too political? They would flip-flop on this, and they would turn this into, oh, my God, Trump refused to pay his respects to the 13 fallen soldiers from Afghanistan. So you know what, Jeff? He's damned if he did, and he's damned if he didn't.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You're dead on. Oh, are you dead on, Mark? No, you're right. You're completely right. Imagine if the families, exactly, let's just play it out. And said, President Trump, we would love for you to come and participate in a wreath-laying ceremony. And he turns around and says, I really don't want to make this political. I don't want to turn this into a political event or politicize it. The Dems, the media, oh my God, they would have pounced all over him. How dare you disrespect the 13 fallen, the dead soldiers, their families, the Gold Star families, and you say you're for the military? You should be ashamed of yourselves. So, you're right. He's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. But in the end, the American people know he paid his respects. They deserve to have their respects paid. And those 13 soldiers were abandoned and betrayed by Biden and Harris. And the real question is, why won't they meet with the families? Why didn't they show up at that wreath-laying ceremony? Why haven't they called them in 3 years, met with them once, showed them an iota of respect? Mark, my question to you, what are Biden and Harris afraid or ashamed of? Why won't they even sit down for 5 minutes with with these Gold Star family members? What are they afraid of?
Because they know, Jeff, they'll get ripped a new one from these families. But I just want to make one more statement about Kamala Harris and the McDonald's thing.
Yes.
Of course, they're going to come back and say, oh, I'm sorry, we meant Burger King. And then Burger King is going to call up and say, no, we have no record. Oh, wait a minute, we meant Wendy's. I'm sorry. By the time this week is over, Jeff, Kamala Harris is going to be working at every single fast food flipping burger joint there is from here to Kingdom Come. And we all know that. And when they get caught in the lie, Jeff, all they do is cover it up with another freaking lie, and they're never held responsible for it. When is this bullcrap going to end?
You're dead on. Oh, you're dead on. Mark, honestly, who lies about working at McDonald's?
Lied about working at McDonald's, and they called you out on it and said, no, we don't have any record. That is embarrassing when McDonald's told you, no, you never worked there.
Mark, drop the mic, buddy. Mark, thank you very much for that call. Look, I don't want to get too off topic, but by the way, there's a huge campaign ad. They've made it a central part of our biography. Well, how is she a working gal? I swear. Well, she's a working gal because when she was at college, Kamala held down a job at McDonald's. Nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. I'm trying to get my Ashton in about a year or two when he turns 16. I want him to work at McDonald's. Nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. But don't lie about working at McDonald's. And it also, I look how stupid she is. I'm sorry to keep using that same word. Unintelligent, whatever you want to say. You're going to get caught. Hello? They have records. If you say you worked somewhere and you never worked at that place, it's going to come out. You're going to get caught. She's so pathetic. She has to lie about working at McDonald's. 8:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Okay, look, why did she have to lie about working at McDonald's? And she hasn't stopped. Watch, go to her presidential campaign website. It's the centerpiece of her biography. I'm a working person. Well, how are you a working person? When I was in college, I got a job at McDonald's. And again, nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, but it's a lie. She never worked at McDonald's. Now, the reason why she's lying is, number one, this woman has never held an honest job in the private sector her entire life. She has been sucking at the public teat her entire life. That's why she knows nothing about economic growth or job creation or how businesses and small businesses work. She has no idea how the economy works because she's been on a government paycheck her entire freaking career. Number two, as I've pointed out repeatedly, she's a child of privilege. Her parents were Marxist professors. Her mother in particular, and God bless her, was one of the leading researchers and professors into breast cancer. Her mother made boatloads of money and taught at some of the finest universities and learning institutions across North America, including, as I pointed out, up in Westmount in Canada, Montreal, Canada. She worked both at McGill University and at the Jewish General. She had 2 jobs, 2 incomes. She did very well for herself. She lived in the wealthiest zip code in the entire country. This woman is not from a working or middle class family. What are you talking to me about? I'm from a working class family. My wife is from a working class, or I guess more middle class family. And by the way, my wife worked at Dunkin' Donuts. Okay, you can look it up. They have the records. She worked a couple summers at Dunkin' Donuts. Nothing wrong with working at Dunkin' Donuts. I worked at my dad's factory floor. On the factory floor. He got me a job, couple summer jobs. Nothing wrong with that. But this woman never got her hands dirty once in her life. So, and I just got it just very quickly, because this is the problem with her. Everything is fake. Everything is phony. She's a complete fraud. She's utterly inauthentic. Everything about her is a con. It's all a lie. Everything is a lie. So, listen now to this. I mean, to the point that it's getting despicable. So, this is her, okay? You can't make this up. This is her speaking. She went to Georgia. She did a recent rally in Georgia. She's speaking with the Georgia voter. Now, remember, she's trying to do the whole I'm black thing. She promoted herself aggressively for decades as an Indian American. She used them for fundraising. That was the core of her identity. Now, because she needs the black vote, she has to court the black vote. Suddenly, she's changing her accents. She's trying to sound black in her mind, what she thinks black people sound like. Well, listen now to this. This is unbelievable. She's talking to a Georgia voter. Play the cut. If I say it, you won't believe it. You got to hear it. Roll cut 10, Mike.
I have a friend who had a Christmas party, Christmas Eve every year, and she asked me to make the greens for a party every year. And I am not lying to you that I would make so many greens that I'd need to wash them in the bathtub. I'm telling you the truth.
So how do you make your greens? Do you put turkey in them? Do you
bacon.
Nice. My grandma
I do bacon.
She's put
garlic. I put white vinegar. Yeah. I do. So I start with, I slice up my garlic. But no, first I chop up the bacon and get all that fat going. Then I put garlic, some chili peppers, and then a lot of water and a little chicken stock, and I let it go for a while before I put the greens in. And then, right, so you get that going and all that flavor, and then I put the greens in for a couple hours. Then I do vinegar, and then I cheat and do a little Tabasco.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Remember Hillary Clinton, the same thing about with the Tabasco, the hot sauce, that she has it in her purse? Like, in other words, I'm so black because, Sandy and I talked about this before the show. I'm like, what is it with these Democratic candidates and Tabasco sauce? Apparently it's a staple. I had no idea. It's a staple for some black Southerners. Black Southerners, not northern blacks, but Southern blacks. And so it's like, yeah, I'm really black. You see, if I eat Tabasco, I'm really showing you I'm black. Now, she's getting immense blowback from the black community over this. Why? They go, look, we're poor. Okay, many of them saying, listen, we're poor. We've never washed our collard greens in a bathtub. Like this idea that somehow, like, you wash collard greens, you clean them in a bathtub? Lady, are you serious? How patronizing and condescending can you possibly be? You think we wash it in a bathtub? You're trying to identify with us? And then, of course, I always add a little Tabasco. The woman's disgusting. I'm serious. You want to talk about a complete fraud. Here, there's more. Okay, watch. Listen to this. And by the way, the black community's catching on. This is not working with them. In fact, they're repulsed by it. They're becoming they're recoiling from it. They're becoming genuinely disgusted by it. So, this is her. Okay, she did 2 rallies yesterday. She did one in Detroit, and then she does pretty much the exact same one, but this time in Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, she brought, Dementia Joe with her. But the point is, she's talking to unions. In Detroit, she's talking to unions. In Pittsburgh, she's talking to unions. But in Detroit, there are more black union members. Pittsburgh, it was almost all white. Now, listen to how she talks in Detroit compared to how she talks in Pittsburgh. Look how she deliberately changes her accent. Roll cut 11. Mike.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Okay, she's trying to sound, ghetto? I don't, she's trying to sound like she's from, from urban Detroit. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for sick leave. Same sentence, same line, but now it's in front of a predominantly white audience in Pittsburgh. And suddenly, that urban accent, it's gone, baby. It's gone. Roll cut 11A. This is her now in Pittsburgh, just several hours later. Roll cut 11A. Mike.
Thank unions for sick leave. Thank unions for paid family leave. Thank unions for your vacation time.
Suddenly, the urban accent's gone. You want to talk about you phony, you fraud, you. Now you know why she finished last in the 2020 primary. Now you know why they didn't want an open, competitive primary. She turns people off because she's such a patent fraud. She's so patently insincere and inauthentic. And I'm telling you, the more the public sees of her, the more they can't stand her. Doug in Chelmsford. Thanks for holding, Doug, and welcome. Hello, Doug. Did we lose Doug? All right. Brenda in Beverly. Thanks for holding, Brenda, and welcome.
Jeff, there is nothing worse than a phony. Oh, my God, I can't stand phony people. Listen, we are dealing with depraved, soulless, fake believers. These are, I'm a practicing this, I'm a practicing that. I'm gonna take what Michelle Obama said. I'm gonna invert it, that whole high-low thing. When they go low, and in this instance, Trump always goes high. Now, what we all need to understand, and I believe that the audience does, but I just need to share this, is that this is Psych 101. When you're dealing with people like this, and you have somebody like Trump, who I clearly can see over the years has really changed quite a lot, and I believe he's changed a lot spiritually. When you're dealing with somebody that has a pure heart, they have a generous spirit. They're extremely compassionate. It rubs these people the wrong way. It's like grating. It's like sandpaper. So in order to assuage that inner turmoil that they have, because their MO.
Brenda, can you hang on because we're up against a hard break? I think I know where you're going with this, and I think you're about to hit the nail right on the head. So anyway, Brenda's about to finish her point. We'll come back, take her call, all of your calls. Don't touch that dial. 8:49, actually almost 8:50 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare, baby. Okay, a lot of reaction. I'm going to go right back to Brenda and Beverly, but just very quick. This is Vicky on Messenger. Jeff, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, and and this is all in caps, and I had never heard an accent like the one Kamala just used. And then there's a disgusting emoji, like your vomiting emoji. Talk about pandering. Oh, I know. It's disgusting. It's so obvious. It's like what Marianne messaged me. Jeff, and as far as this urban accent, she's taking a page out of Hillary's playbook. Remember that? People are so, and again in caps, willfully ignorant, stupid, forgetful, you name it. How liberals can buy this is beyond me. It's beyond me. All right, let's go right back to Brenda in Beverly. Brenda, you were on your way to making an absolutely magnificent point about how people can't stand phonies. They can't stand frauds. She's such an obvious phony and fraud. She's like Tim Waltz. She's an incorrigible liar. The woman lies about absolutely everything. Please, Brenda, pick up where you left off.
Okay, just a little recap. I'm going to be repetitive. I was trying to do the juxtaposition of showcasing how you have someone like Trump who was operating in this situation out of a pure heart and out of a generous spirit, and then you've got our fellow political rivals on the other side who are phonies, okay, and their modus operandi is feigned compassion, and because it's night and day, it rubs them the wrong way. Like I said, it's like sandpaper. It grates on them. So there is a little bit of hope. That means that there is a little bit of a soul in there. But in order to assuage like that inner turmoil that we all experience when we've done something wrong, I've either said something wrong intentionally, or I've done something, I've committed an awful action, and I feel awful. I feel ashamed. I feel guilty. I feel convicted, which is a built-in mechanism as a believer by God to make us feel that way so that we can turn. For some bizarre reason, they're going to have none of that. They'll go because of their pride. That was that question that you asked the audience before, why they haven't gone there. Because they are loaded with it. We all have it, but some people have it a lot more than others. So in order to assuage it, they do that whole projection thing, which we talk about a lot in Kuhner country. And that sort of helps to diminish and minimize that yuck that they feel so that they point the finger, and in this case at Trump. Trump, bad guy. Trump's an awful evil man. Hitler, 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 Hitler. All this garbage in order to sort of release themselves from the guilt, the shame, and the conviction that they should have. Now, I'm going to ask the audience to do something that they're going to probably be maybe PO'd with me to do. But as somebody who's a believer, for the last month I've been doing it. We need to pray. God commands us to pray for our enemies. I tell God every morning, I really don't feel like doing this. It's a tall order for me to love my enemies. I can certainly pray for them. And I pray every day, Jeff, that the scales fall off their eyes. Everybody needs it in some area in their life. We know they certainly need it. It's like they have cement on their eyeballs. They cannot see the forest through the trees. They have put a line in the sand. Hell no, I am not going to see what I need to see, because they have built a storyline in their head that somehow that they have all the answers to life, that they are right all the time, and that we somehow on the other side of the aisle, MAGA supporters, are villainous, and we're foul, and we're disgusting, and we're irredeemable, deplorables, and all this nonsense. And at some point, this pimple is going to pop, and it's going to pop most likely in a very violent way. So we want to tamp that down. We don't want to see any violence. Maybe they want to see violence. We don't want to see violence. But the scales need to fall off of these people's eyes. I mean, we're at a tipping point. I mean, that goes without saying.
Well, Brenda, look, and I think it's very noble that you pray for your enemies. I really do. And that they're no longer blinded by their hatred. These are zealots. These are fanatics. But I think we've gotten to the point now, Brenda, to be, brutally honest with you. Trump's going to win this election. I keep telling everybody this. We have the numbers. We're in the majority. They're in the minority. No one's going to vote for this person. I mean, there are fanatics that will, and the Hitler in the bunker types, and the hacks, and the blind Democratic loyalists. But in terms of the majority of the country, there's no way they're voting for this fraud. There's no way. And what this shows to me, if she's willing now to go after the Gold Star families, if she's now willing to attack them, and say you're engaging in a publicity or political stunt by inviting Donald Trump, shame on you. If she's willing to spit in their faces, then they've got a plan to steal it. Because that's the third rail of American politics. You just don't go after the grieving parents of dead service members, especially service members that you and Biden helped to kill. That you are directly responsible for their deaths and their murders at the hands of terrorists at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. So, look, I know she's stupid, but I'm telling you, she's not that stupid. Nobody can possibly be that stupid. So what they're doing now is they're open, they're naked, they're brazen, and they're going to rely on the voter fraud and the steal to put her over the top. And our job for the next 2 months, and basically now it's, 60 days and 2 days. So we're 62 days away now from the most consequential election in our lifetime, maybe the most important in American history. We have to prevent the steal. It's really that simple. If we prevent the steal, we win. If we don't, they steal it. That's what this is now. Brenda, thank you very, very much for that call. I want to play a cut very quick. Lines are jammed. I want to go right back to the phone lines. This is Trump in an interview on Fox. And he's talking about the assassination attempt, and in particular about his belief in God. And listen to what he says about how he believes God saved him that day, but for a particular reason and a particular mission. Roll cut 5, Mike.
If you believed in God, you believe in God more. And somebody said, why? And I'd like to think that God thinks that I'm going to straighten out our country. Our country is so sick. And it's so broken. Our country is just broken. And maybe that was the reason. I don't know.
In other words, he's now convinced that the Lord spared his life for him to win. In other words, a miracle in November, so that he could heal and save our country. He's convinced of it now. Now, I'm convinced of it as well. But only God helps those who help themselves. God is not just going to come down and, part the sea, or in this case, kick all the Democrat fraudsters and cheaters from the polls. It's going to be up to us. It's, and look, if I agree with Mark Levin. I thought Mark Levin made an excellent point last week. He said, stop putting all this pressure on Trump and Vance. Everybody's saying, well, what are you guys going to do to prevent the steal, to prevent the fraud? or the RNC, what are you going to do to prevent the steal and prevent the fraud? Of course, that's all valid. What are we, the people, going to do? What are we going to do? What are we willing to do to prevent the fraud? Because this is ultimately our country. It's our republic. It's our future. It's our children and grandchildren's future that's on the line. So I don't think it's fair to put all of this immense burden and pressure on one man or two men or on the RNC and say, well, what are you guys going to do? No, what are we going to do? All of us collectively. Because I'm telling you, you're not coming back from an idiot like Kamala Harris. There's no way in hell you're coming back from an idiot like her. Now, I just want to read this text and then go right back to the phone line. 617-266-6868 is the number, because it shows to you how corrupt and swollen our military, bloated, our military leadership has become. Why is nobody speaking out against the Biden-Harris policy in Afghanistan? And in particular now, how they're openly disrespecting and insulting the 13 fallen soldiers and their Gold Star parents. I mean, this is beyond unacceptable. Why is nobody in the military brass speaking out? Well, this is why. You can text us 70470, 70470. This is from 781. Jeff, your comments about 4-star generals reflect the sentiments expressed by the great Colonel Douglas McGregor. In a recent podcast, he recounted, this is an incredible statistic, that during the entirety of World War II, the U.S. Armed Forces conducted that entire war, remember, it's a world war, with fewer than 10 4-star generals. Okay, so fewer than 10 4-star generals. You know, I'm talking Nazi Germany, all of Europe, Japan, the Pacific, you know, the greatest war that was ever fought. Today, when you add in the Navy admirals, that number of 4-star commanders has grossly swelled to about 400. Less than 10 during all of World War II. And today, and the big one is Milley. He's a parade general. I need sunglasses whenever I watch him. I'm like, oh my God, all those medals on your chest. I can't see. I can't see. Somebody get a pair of sunglasses. I'm going to get blinded. 400. 400. They just promote themselves and give themselves bigger paychecks and more money and bigger pensions and pat each other on the back and shill for the Democratic Party. And then this 781 continues. And Jeff, you are right. Obama purged the first round of actual loyal American military officers. And then Biden's illegal mandate for the COVID shots culled the rest of them. And that's how they purged the entire military leadership. And that's why nobody's speaking. 617-266-6868. Okay. Many of you are texting the Kuhner Man, calling the Kuhner Man, emailing the Kuhner Man, leaving voice messages with Sandy and others. Today is election day. It is primary day here in Massachusetts. Please go out and vote. I will be voting right after the show. There's going to be races decided for state rep, state senate, local city council, and of course, the big race. I'm urging all of you to vote. Who will be the nominee for the Republican Party to run for Senate against Elizabeth Warren? Who will be the nominee for the U.S. Republican Senate to challenge Elizabeth Warren? The 3 candidates officially on the ballot: John Deaton, Bob Antonellis, Ian Kane. I've been told by my lawyers that it's somehow an in-kind contribution if I tell people who I'm going to vote for, or if I urge people to vote for a certain candidate. So let me just say this. I like all 3 of them. I met all 3 of them. I think all three of them are infinitely better than Elizabeth Warren. I'm being very candid with you. Whoever eventually wins the race tonight, the election tonight, I will support against Elizabeth Warren because she's the worst of the worst. She has to go. All of this being said, it's a matter of public record. I'm not disparaging anybody, attacking anybody. I'm just literally stating their record. Ian Cain, John Deaton are anti-Trump. In fact, they've both said they will not vote for Trump in November. They will not vote for the Democrat nominee either, but they say they're both not voting for Trump in November. Bob Antonellis is a MAGA Republican. He says he will not only vote for Trump, he supports Trump's agenda down the line. So, whatever your values are, whatever your beliefs are, whatever your conscience tells you, vote accordingly. Victor in Georgetown. Thanks for holding, Victor, and welcome.
Kuhner, man, welcome back from the Labor Day weekend. There are 10 million illegal invaders happy that we're back to work to pay for their housing, to pay for their free medical care at our expense and their food. So all you taxpayers that are back there working, those people really appreciate that. You know, I'm going to make a side comment before my point, Jeff. You know, Kamala was handicapped by getting that no-show job for $100,000 a year to show up once a month at an insurance company commission, if you will. So her ability to read the room is very limited. And what I believe is that point that they were trying to make regarding regarding Trump at Arlington was trying to win back some of the veteran votes that Tiananmen Tim lost by being, you know, just a liar. And what happened is this, and my friend came up to me, Jeff, and he said, well, he's a hater. He goes, did you hear Trump was, trying to get attention at Arlington? And I just, rather than arguing with him with my point, Jeff, I simply said, this guy, President Abraham Lincoln, went to a blood-drenched battlefield in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. He communicated a message that changed a nation. So it's okay for President Lincoln, but not okay for President Trump. And the guy just walked away from me scratching his head. I can't give my opinion that's going to share someone, that's going to change someone else's opinion. But I sure can use an example in our past when we were an actual nation growing together, working together, that can make a difference in what people think. And one of the worst things, Jeff, and this is just a side comment, if my enemy is stupid, I never remind them that they're stupid because they might wake up a little bit and start studying. Let this person keep going the way they're going. And I pray to God that my thought that a month and a week from now, that President Biden retires due to bad health and she ascends to the presidency. That's the only way. She has a prayer of winning, and I don't put it past them, Jeff. What do you think?
It's high risk for them, Victor. I know a lot of people believe that. You could be right. I could be wrong. I don't claim to have a crystal ball. I don't see the reason why I don't think they'll do it, only for one reason, is that, yes, in some ways it would be, shatter glass ceilings. She'd be the first female minority president, and they could maybe use that momentum to ride it into November. But then she would be officially the incumbent. And if you notice, her whole campaign, she's running from the Biden-Harris record. She's cast herself. This is, to me, amazing what she's done, or what they're trying to do. It's as if she's never been part of the administration. They're selling her like she's a complete outsider, like she fell from the sky. She's a disruptor. She's got a fresh face. This is almost like she's, some insurgent, some political maverick who just shot out of nowhere. No. She's directly tied to Biden and to every major policy, whether it's inflation, the economy, the border, crime, the Green New Deal, Afghanistan. the war in Ukraine, she owns all of it. So, and he's so deeply unpopular, and his policies are so deeply unpopular, that if they say, well, you know what, he's stepping down and now she's really formally the president, I don't know if she wants that going, let's say, the last 2-3 weeks of the election. Because then, she will be the incumbent and she can't run from it. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to continue to play stupid, hide her as much as possible, and this is their secret weapon. And well, they have two secret weapons. The media, the corporate media, is spending billions and billions and billions in free advertising for her. I've never seen. The media is running her campaign. The media is selling and packaging her. All of this is completely corporate media driven. And number two, that voter fraud machine. So that's their 1-2 punch. Now, I'm telling you, if Trump is smart, and he is, all you got to do now what I would do, bring the Gold Star family members with him on the campaign trail. Don't even tell them what to say. Just nothing. Just say, I just want to give him a couple of minutes. Kamala Harris says we politicized the anniversary of the pullout. Kamala Harris is now attacking these poor mothers and fathers who lost their sons and daughters. I want to just give them just 5 minutes and talk to me about your son or daughter and how they were treated by Biden and Harris. Just go. Just go. That's all I would do. And I would run campaign ad after campaign ad after campaign ad. They're going to have this country in tears. In tears. It's time to blow up the fake narrative about this woman. She's not nice. She's not friendly. She's not working middle class. She's not an outsider. She's not some political insurgent. She doesn't have this cutesy smile on her face, and she loves to laugh and friendly and joy and hope and good vibes. She's a monster. A vicious, nasty monster. And the way she's treated those 13 dead fallen heroes, her and Biden, and the way she's treated these Gold Star families is beyond despicable. Beyond despicable. Expose her for the evil, vicious human being that she is. If Trump does that, I'm telling you, this thing is over. Thank you for that call, Victor. 617-266-6868 is the number. I'm going to continue to take your calls. And the media now claims there was an altercation. Fisticuffs. Fights broke out at the Arlington National Cemetery. But is it true? 919 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so part of this whole, I don't know even what you want to call this, Arlington Gate. This completely fake manufactured scandal that the media is now pushing and peddling. Part of it is that they're claiming, this is what the media is claiming, with, by the way, no evidence whatsoever. But when did that ever stop them before? That a Trump staffer, or maybe even two staffers, got into a physical altercation, started to manhandle an employee, a member of the military, who is assigned at Arlington National Cemetery. And so the media is now running with this lie, another hoax. Like thugs, like Gestapo brown shirts, they descended into Arlington National Cemetery, and they just said, we're going to do what the hell we want to do. We'll take the pictures or we want to take them. We'll do what we want to do. And when this one Arlington National Cemetery member said, you can't do this, they roughed him up, brown shirt style. So, listen now to Dana Bash on This Is CNN. So she's trying to get Tulsi Gabbard and give her a gotcha question. saying, whoa, what's this about Trump staffers pushing aside, shoving, roughing up this cemetery official? Roll cut 16, Mike.
I do want to move on to what is happening with regard to controversy after the former president visited Arlington National Cemetery this week. His campaign took photos and video of him in Section 60, where veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are buried, used it in a campaign video. The Army also says that Trump staffers abruptly pushed aside a cemetery official who tried to enforce Arlington's rules prohibiting political activities. I know you were with Trump at least earlier in that day at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Did you witness the altercation at Section 60?
Okay, so notice now they're just acting like the altercation happened. You know, it's like when, they keep acting like, by the way, and CNN and MSNBC are big on this now. That, that lie that he called people who died fighting for our country suckers and losers. Suckers and losers. When you had 26 witnesses right there saying he never said that. A reporter at Rolling Stone magazine fabricated the quotes. They made it up. They made the whole thing up. But they just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Okay, so now they're doing the whole, there was an altercation, they roughed him up. Here's Tulsi Gabbard, who, by the way, was there. She was there the whole time. She saw everything with her own eyes. Roll cut 16A, Mike.
I was there from the beginning with the laying of the wreaths, with the family members, the Gold Star family members, and some of the survivors of that terrorist attack in that disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. I was with them at Section 60, and what I saw was a very grave and somber remembrance and honoring of those lives that were lost. And I saw President Trump spending time at the invitation of these Gold Star families with them. He was there for a few hours. I did not see or hear about any kind of altercation until something came out in the news later on. The families were there grieving alongside President Trump, and it was a very special moment to really remember their names, remember their memories, and understand the true cost of war and the consequences of the decisions that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden made in the execution of that withdrawal.
Dana Bash was not happy. She lied. She lied. As Tulsi Gabbard said, I didn't see anything. None of the Gold Star family members, all of them have come out and said, we didn't see what altercation. We didn't see any altercation. So, no family member saw any altercation. No Trump staff member saw any altercation. Everybody present there saw no altercation. The camera people, the photographers, nobody saw an altercation. Now, furthermore, and all of you need to know this, because this is unbelievable. And I'll tell you exactly what happened. There's a cemetery official who's a never Trumper, sort of like a Colonel Vindman, okay? And they figure, hey, I'm going to be a hero for the resistance. I'm going to strike a blow against the evil orange man. And so what happened was, and this has now been widely reported and confirmed, corroborated, is that when the 13 Gold Star family members showed up, that cemetery official did not want them all together to make a commemorative ceremony. So this person began to cause problems. But then he couldn't believe it. He saw President Trump arriving in his limo. And when he saw that, he tried to physically prevent the President of the United States from entering the cemetery, saying, you don't have permission to be here. You don't have the right to be here. And he wanted to send Trump out, turn him around and say, you got to leave. The family members couldn't believe it. They said, no. We have permission to be here. We have a right to be here. We asked Trump to be here. That's right. And then you're completely right, Sandy. And so they complained to Congressman Darrell Issa. They got him on the phone. And Darrell Issa said, are you kidding me? That's right. Yeah. Darrell Issa was there. And then he ended up calling Speaker Mike Johnson. Okay? House Speaker Johnson. And he called him up and he said, this cemetery official is preventing President Trump from entering the cemetery. The House Speaker then used his full authority, called up the cemetery official, and said, knock it off. What are you doing? I'm ordering you. Let Trump in. 9:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. This is from Larry on Messenger. Jeff, didn't you know Trump taught his staffers martial arts? Similar to what he himself used against his Secret Service agents while trying to grab the wheel of that presidential limo. John Wick style. Now, do you remember that BS story the media was pushing? How on January 6th, Trump got into the limo and he was like, I'm going to drive all the way down to January 6th, on January 6th, I'm going to drive all the way down to the Capitol. And they're like, no, sir, you can't. He goes, no, okay, I'm taking the wheel. And he apparently grabbed the SUV from the Secret Service. They were like wrestling with him. I mean, the BS, the bull crap. And they just pedal it and pedal it and pedal it. You know, as Larry said, John Wick style. There he was, kicking this agent, punching this Secret Service agent, body slamming this one, taking control, dodging bullets. He's turning the car, doing 180, doing donuts, all because he wanted to get to the Capitol that day and lead the insurrection. I mean, this is like out of a comic book. So now apparently people, they roughed up that cemetery official. She's all roughed up. You're like, well, okay, who? What? Well, there's nothing. Okay, let's just move on. So apparently the cemetery official who allegedly was the victim of an assault, although they won't say by who, they won't say when, where, or how it happened. Apparently now she's declining to press charges for fear of retaliation. That, Trump's going to win in November and then I'm going to lose my job. Yeah, right. It never happened. She was trying to make herself a hero of the resistance. And she tried to block Trump from going to the ceremony, from going into Arlington National Cemetery. And then it blew up in her face because Mike Johnson called and said they have full permission to be there. And Trump was invited as a guest. He has full permission to be there. You're out of line, out of bounds. You're exceeding your authority. Let him in or you're going to lose your job. And she knew that she was lying about an assault. And so now, in order not to be completely humiliated and probably discharged from the military, suddenly, I don't want to press any charges because, fear of retaliation. No, if you were assaulted, you should definitely press charges. What are you afraid of? Because it's another pack of lies, like everything else. Lie, lie, lie. Mel in New York. Thanks for holding, Mel, and welcome.
Yes, good morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call. Hi. Yes, I'm over here in New York, but I still donated $25 to Bob. Was it Antonelli, I believe? He gave me his card, so he was over at the rally.
Yes, Bob Antonellis. Yes, he's on the ballot today for a Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate to challenge Elizabeth Warren.
Right. Okay. Now, you don't have to be a big money donor. You just have to, $5, $10, $15. If we all donated, we outnumber them. And that's a fact. You can take corporate donations, this and that and the other. They're not going to beat us with those small donations to a campaign. And Bob Antonellis is he's a very down, straight shooter about conservatism and the Republican Party. Get it? So if the $5 to $10, $15 donations, we can outnumber them.
Well, Mel, look, there's no question. I mean, small money donors, if they, join together as a team, can do tremendous damage. There's no doubt. Antonellis, though, look, Deaton's got a lot of money. He's poured a lot of money into this primary. I think that's one of his big attractions for some Republican voters. He's got an immense war chest. He's basically a billionaire. So they figure that if he wins the nomination, we'll see again, it's up to the voters. But if he wins the nomination, he can spend a lot of money against Elizabeth Warren and launch an air war, run ad after ad on television, and maybe give Elizabeth Warren a run for her money. So again, we'll see what happens. Ian Kane is also running as an anti-Trump Republican. But he says that he's got a lot of pull with independents, disaffected Democrats. Many in the black community are going to come out and support Ian Kane because he's a black Republican. So anyway, we'll see what happens. To me, the only thing that matters is that everybody votes. Just please go out and vote. That's all I ask of you. Vote your values, vote your beliefs, vote your conscience. And I'm just stating the record. Bob Antonellis is a pro-Trump Republican. He voted for Trump. He will vote for Trump in November. Both Deaton and Ian Kane are anti-Trump Republicans, and they both have vowed they will not vote for him in November. They say they won't vote for Harris, but they will definitely not vote for Trump. So you decide. I'm just leaving it up to you. I report, you decide. Dave in Vermont. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, I got a new nickname for Kamala. It's Hamburgular Harris. You name it, she'll claim it.
Dave, I got to ask you, in all seriousness, have you ever heard of this in your life? That somebody lies about having worked at McDonald's? I mean, I know they lie, Dave, I know they lie about, working at a prestigious law firm, or at a prestigious Wall Street firm. Okay, I get it. Or, I got a degree from Harvard or Yale. Okay, I get it. Because it's, it gives you a real advantage in the workplace. It could, or even lying about, a la Elizabeth Warren, claiming you're a fake Indian. Well, you get a job out of it. Okay, so you check I'm white. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to pretend to be black or Indian or some kind of a minority. Okay, I get it. But who the hell lies about having worked at a McDonald's when they went to college? Like, Dave, have you ever heard of anything like this in your life?
Sounds like it's prevalent throughout the whole Democrat Party. They must have something that they're drinking over there. Maybe Kamala's got them worms coming out of the tequila or something. I don't know. Mescal.
Well, Dave, I just want you to know I worked at McDonald's, too. I also have worked at Burger King. I've worked at KFC. I've worked at Wendy's, Five Guys. You wouldn't believe how many fast food jobs I've held, Dave. I'm working class all the way, baby.
School kitchen.
By the way, I also served in the military, Dave. You wouldn't believe the weapons I carried in war. Oh, Dave. You know what my nickname was, right? They called me a Rambo. It was just Jeff Rambo Kuhner. They just called me Rambo. You know Osama bin Laden? That was me. I took him down, Dave. That was me. Dave, that this is now blowing up in her face, that she has been caught lying red-handed about having worked at McDonald's, as she makes it such a big deal about her background, her biography. Are people going to start to get turned off? Is the honeymoon now over, Dave?
I don't think it ever really began. I think there was just a little bit of disillusionment going on.
What I really fear, Jeff, it'd be nice if we do see an election, but I kind of fear that they are so desperate, we may not even see one.
Well, that's my fear. My fear is what's happening overseas, whether it's Ukraine or now Israel. I mean, if there's a real war that breaks out, I know it's very ugly in Ukraine and Russia, but I mean, if it goes nuclear, or if Iran and Israel go to blows, and we have a massive Middle East war, they could suspend the election. That's my real fear. So, and again, from now until November 5th, I'm going to be covering voter fraud as much as I possibly can. Not because it's inevitable. I think Donald Trump is going to win. I really do. But we need to expose it so we can prevent it and block it. So I just want you to know, Dave, I'm going to be focused like a laser beam now on fraud. Dave, thank you very much for that call. Bob in Raynham. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Bob.
You've touched on, the subject regarding the folks, the heroes that died in Afghanistan because of his disastrous pullout. But I'd like to go even further. Based on these traitors, I believe that all of our heroes have died in vain because what they're allowing to happen, these traitors.
Bob, you're about to make a very profound point. Please hang on. I'm up against a hard break. We're going to come back to Bob. He believes they have died in vain because of certain traitors. Back with Bob, your calls next. 9:50 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare. Let's go right back to Bob in Raynham. Bob, I'm sorry we got cut off by the hard break. Please pick up where you left off. Your point was, obviously, you care for these fallen soldiers and their Gold Star parents, but you're saying it looks like almost every sacrifice is now made in vain because of certain traitors. Please pick up where you left off, Bob.
Yes, Jeff, and I would include all of the fallen that rushed into those towers on 9/11, all of their families, and all of the men and women that perished in that disastrous event that these traitors are allowing. They're enabling a future event like that to happen again. And this woman has no right to even be considered to be the commander-in-chief of the United States of America. She's an absolute traitor. Biden was a traitor. Obama was a traitor. And look what we're left with. I mean, President Trump could be out golfing, enjoying his life, and for him to be, I know he has an ego about him, but for him, I mean, the guy should be dead right now. He was just, attempted assassinated a month ago, and for him to be going through the persecution he's gone through, really because of the love of his country at this point, there's just no doubt about it. And these people have no love for our country, and they've betrayed all of the men and women who sacrificed and died, both as military personnel and police officers and everything else, because of their abhorrent policies that are really putting all of us at risk. And how anyone can vote for this moron and this traitor is it's just beyond my belief how it could ever happen. How can we be in this situation?
Bob, I couldn't agree with you more. And Bob, look, let me throw this log on the fire. And again, I'm not trying to inflame people. I'm just really calling it the way I see it. You've laid it out beautifully and brilliantly just how horrific Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have been. And then the disaster at Afghanistan and all the Afghans that were slaughtered and all the women and the girls that have now been essentially enslaved. And then all of our people that were killed and those 13 service members slaughtered, absolutely slaughtered. And now she attacks the Gold Star parents? She vilifies them. She demonizes them. She says they had no right to honor their dead kids and invite Trump to a wreath-laying ceremony to honor and pay respects to their memories and to their lives. Bob, I don't know what country I'm living in anymore. And she proudly, this is not even through her aides or surrogates. This is her on X in her own account, in her own words, vilifying Trump and vilifying the Gold Star family members. So your son or your daughter is killed because of this woman and her complete incompetence and stupidity. And then she won't even call you or visit you or mention their names or commemorate or honor them in any way. She wants to forget the whole thing happened. And then when you want to honor their sacrifice on the 3rd anniversary, suddenly now you're a horrible human being who's politicizing their deaths. She spits in their faces like that. And you have Americans that will vote for this monster? Bob, after a while, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's either you see it or you don't. Final word to you, Bob.
Yeah, you can add on to the list, all the victims of these illegals, the Laken Rileys and all the rest that this person that's running for president is enabling all of that to happen. And for one American to vote for this person it's really beyond belief.
It's outrageous. It's scandalous.
How can it happen?
No, I agree, Bob. Really, I completely. That's why I don't believe the polls. I'm telling you, don't believe the polls. And by the way, this is a sign of desperation. They're in panic mode. The CNN interview blew up in her face. She got no bounce from the Democratic National Convention. She's going to get destroyed in next week's debate against Trump. The more people see her, the more they can't stand her. And so they thought, well, yeah, let's try to turn this whole Arlington National Cemetery into a Trump scandal. And now this is blowing up in their face. Don't believe the polls. Trust me. Trump is winning in a landslide. The only way now is if they steal it. That's it. That's it. Otherwise, this is going to be a big, big victory for Trump in November. Thank you for the call, Bob. Ellie in Worcester. I hate to do this to you, Ellie. I've got 1 minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Okay. I live in a sexual way. Okay. Okay. I was listening to a guy on the TV, not the TV, the radio.
The radio.
He was talking about the difference between virtue and values, which I didn't know there was any difference. So values is basically somebody's own personal view of stuff. That's why you always hear values are values. I looked up virtue in the dictionary, and it says goodness, morals, effective right thinking and actions, merit, courage, strength, worth, and manliness. And that's what the forefathers used. They went by virtue. I'm not saying virtue.
You're right. There's no virtue. Trump exhibited virtue by going to the Arlington National Cemetery and participating in that wreath-laying ceremony. He showed virtue, manliness, courage, decency. Kamala Harris, she's a disgrace. Bye-bye.